There is a line drawn in the sand of history. On one side stand the masses, who wait for permission, who wait for miracles, who wait for luck to knock on their door. They dream idly, spinning castles in the air, and then wake to the same life, the same routine, the same disappointments. On the other side stand the few, the rare, the daring, the ones who do not wait. They create. They take the same clay of circumstance that others call limitation and mold it into empires. Average minds dream. Masterminds create. This is not a cliché, not a slogan. It is the dividing law between mediocrity and greatness, between obscurity and immortality. The average mind whispers, "I wish." The mastermind declares, "I will," and history bows to those declarations. Look back through time and you will see the pattern written clearly. Thomas Edison did not wait for the world to hand him light, he created it. Henry Ford did not wait for permission to reshape transportation. He built a vision so bold that even his own workers thought him insane. Walt Disney stood in empty swamps of Florida where no one else saw anything but mud and mosquitoes, and he built a kingdom of imagination that outlives him to this day. The masses laughed at them. The average minds ridiculed them. But that is always how it is, because average minds cannot comprehend the fire of a mastermind. They cannot see beyond their own limits, and so they mock the one who dares to break them. But here is the truth you must absorb. The difference between those who dream and those who create is not intelligence, not privilege, not luck. It is mindset. It is the unwavering decision to turn belief into reality, vision into form, purpose into empire. Your mind is the factory. Every thought is a worker. Every belief is a machine, and what you produce is entirely dependent on the orders you give. Average minds give orders of doubt, fear, hesitation. They build excuses and ship out failure. Masterminds give orders of certainty, clarity, conviction. They build possibilities and ship out greatness. Think about it. Every skyscraper you see piercing the sky, every bridge that spans impossible distances, every company that transforms the world, all of it began not in stone, not in steel, but in thought. Thought is the origin. Thought is the seed. Thought is the invisible blueprint that precedes the visible. Empire. This is the law. You become what you think about most of the time. Average minds spend their thoughts on fear, distraction, comparison, envy. Masterminds spend their thoughts on vision, growth, discipline, creation. So ask yourself honestly, which orders are you giving your mind? Which factory are you running? Do not be deceived. The world is not shaped by those who sit and hope. The world is shaped by those who rise and build. The average will always tell you to be realistic, to play it safe, to lower your expectations. But every breakthrough, every revolution, every triumph has been born from someone who defied that advice. Realism has never changed the world. Faith has. Vision has. Relentless belief has. There is a story. Napoleon Hill once shared a story that captures this law perfectly. He spoke of a man named Edwin C. Barnes, who had one burning desire to become a business partner of Thomas Edison. Not an employee, not an admirer, a partner. Barnes had no money, no education, no connections. To most, the dream was delusion. But he made a decision. He boarded a freight train, rode into Edison's office, and declared that he had come to work with him. Edison later recalled that this man looked like a tramp, but there was something in his eyes, something fierce, unyielding, that convinced him to give Barnes a chance. Years passed. Barnes worked relentlessly, not as Edison's partner but in lowly positions. Yet all the while, he held the vision steady in his mind. He refused to let it die. And then one day, opportunity appeared. Edison had created a new invention, but no one could sell it. Barnes seized the chance, proved his genius, and from that moment forward, he was not Edison's employee, he was his partner. Average minds would have given up. Average minds would have laughed at such ambition. But a mastermind does not negotiate with circumstance, it commands it. And so the lesson is clear. You are either drifting through life, dreaming without power, or you are building with intention, creating without compromise. The choice is not made once. It is made every day, every hour, every thought, because every time you think a thought, you are laying a brick in the empire of your destiny. The question is, are you building castles of smoke, or are you building fortresses of steel? The empire of your life is built not in sudden bursts of brilliance, but in the relentless rhythm of daily discipline. Discipline is the scaffolding upon which vision rises. Without it, even the boldest dream collapses into dust. Think of a sculptor standing before a raw block of marble. Inside that stone lies the masterpiece, but it will never emerge without the steady, disciplined strike of the chisel. One blow may reveal nothing, 10 may reveal little, but thousands, delivered with patience and precision, reveal the form that was hidden all along. So it is with your life. Discipline is the chisel that reveals the masterpiece within you. Average minds strike a few times and quit, complaining that the stone is too hard. Masterminds strike endlessly, knowing that every blow counts, even when nothing seems to change. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." But hidden in those words is another truth. Whether you act with discipline, or whether you let laziness rule you are building the proof of your belief. Discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. freedom from the chains of chaos, freedom from the prison of procrastination, freedom from the slavery of weakness. Average minds believe discipline takes away life's pleasures. Masterminds know discipline creates life's greatest rewards. Consider the vision of Andrew Carnegie. He arrived in America as a poor immigrant boy, working long hours in factories. He had no wealth, no status, no inheritance, but he had a vision to rise, to create, to build an empire of steel. And he did not merely dream of it, he disciplined for himself into it. Every day was a deliberate step forward. He read books to sharpen his mind. He studied the moves of powerful men. He saved money when others wasted it. He invested in his growth when others invested in fleeting pleasures. Through vision disciplined into action, Carnegie became one of the wealthiest men of his era. And more than that, he became the mentor who opened Napoleon Hill's eyes to the very philosophy we are speaking of now. Vision without discipline is hallucination. Discipline without vision is drudgery. But vision with discipline, this is the formula of the mastermind, and clarity is the compass. A ship without a compass may have sails, may have crew, may even have favorable winds, but it will drift endlessly in circles. A man without clarity of purpose may have talent, may have energy, may even have ambition, but he will scatter his strength, chasing distractions, building nothing permanent. Average minds set vague wishes. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I want to be rich. But wishes without precision vanish like smoke. Masterminds carve their visions into clear, definite goals. I will earn this amount by this time through this service. I will build this project, serve this mission, leave this impact. And the universe bends to that clarity, for it cannot resist the magnetic pull of a mind that knows exactly what it wants. Clarity makes your vision a magnet. It pulls resources, people, and opportunities into your orbit. Without it, even blessings slip through your fingers, because you cannot recognize them when they arrive. Take Walt Disney again. He did not simply say, I want to entertain people. That was the vague dream of an average mind. Instead, he saw it with crystal clarity. Parks where families could step into living stories. Films that combined music and animation in ways never seen before. Characters that would live for generations. He saw it so clearly that others thought him mad. Yet today, billions live inside his vision. Clarity transforms madness into legacy, but here lies the great secret. Most never grasp. Clarity is not found by accident. It is forged. It is carved. In silence, sharpened in solitude, defined through reflection. You cannot find clarity in the noise of the crowd. You must retreat within. You must wrestle with yourself. You must dare to ask the terrifying questions. Who am I? What do I want? What will I sacrifice? What will I refuse to die without creating? Only then will you know the path. Only then will discipline have a direction. When you align clarity with vision, and vision with discipline, you awaken a force so magnetic, so unstoppable, that even the world itself must make way. The seas part for the ship that knows where it is sailing. The average mind looks at a mountain and says, it's too high. The mastermind fixes his gaze on the peak, charts the path, and climbs one step at a time until he plants his flag where few men have ever stood. And so it must be with you. If your vision is vague, sharpen it. If your discipline is weak, strengthen it. If your clarity is foggy, clear it. Because the truth is brutal but liberating. You will never rise above the standard you set for yourself in thought and action. Average minds dream. Masterminds create. And creation is never an accident. It is the deliberate alignment of thought, discipline, and vision into form. Faith is the oxygen of creation. Without it, the vision suffocates. Without it, discipline collapses. Without it, clarity becomes nothing more than lines on paper. Faith is the power that turns thought into form. It is the invisible current that electrifies imagination and awakens the forces of creation to move in your favor. Faith is not wishful thinking, not blind hope. Faith is conviction backed by action. Belief so strong it bends reality toward itself. The average mind lives in doubt. Doubt is its daily companion. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if it doesn't work? Doubt is a disease of the spirit, and it robs men and women of the very wealth they were meant to possess. Doubt strangles ideas in their cradle. Doubt blinds the eye to opportunity. Doubt convinces you to turn back when the treasure lies just a few feet further. But the mastermind lives in faith. Faith says, I do not need to know how, I only need to know that I will. Faith says, the details will unfold once I take the first step. Faith says, though the world resists me, though the evidence denies me, though the path is hidden, I will walk forward because the vision I carry is already mine. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Throughout his life he faced defeat after defeat. He lost elections, he failed in business, he battled depression. The average man would have surrendered long before, but Lincoln carried an unshakable faith not in circumstance, but in the cause he served, the purpose he bore. His faith carried him to the presidency, and through it he preserved a nation. Or consider Henry Ford. He faced bankruptcy multiple times before his vision of the automobile became reality, but he never surrendered his faith. When critics laughed, when investors abandoned him, He held to the belief that he could put the world on wheels, and he did. The average mind calls this foolishness, but history calls it genius. Because faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the currency of creation. Napoleon Hill wrote that faith is a state of mind that can be created by autosuggestion, by feeding your subconscious with repeated positive, definite thoughts. This is why the average mind drifts toward failure. It feeds itself with fear, with doubt, with limitations. Day after day, it repeats silently, I cannot, I am not enough. It won't work, and the subconscious obeys. The factory produces failure, but the mastermind disciplines his inner voice. He repeats with conviction, I will, I am capable, I am destined. He visualizes his victory as though it is already won. He sees himself already in possession of the wealth, the health, the power, the influence he desires, and the subconscious obeys. The factory produces greatness. Do not mistake this for superstition. This is the most practical law in existence. Your subconscious is the engine driving every choice you make, every habit you build, every opportunity you recognize or ignore. Train it with doubt, and it will sabotage you. Train it with faith, and it will carry you to heights that defy logic. Faith is not passive. Faith acts. Faith steps into the darkness, trusting the flaw will appear. Faith invests when fear says hold back. Faith builds when others are waiting. Faith works while the world sleeps. Faith stays the course while others surrender. Average mind demands certainty before acting, but certainty never comes before action. The mastermind acts first and certainty follows. Think of the great explorers who sailed into oceans without maps. Think of the inventors who built machines that had never existed. Think of the pioneers who planted seeds in deserts. None of them had guarantees. They had faith. And that faith opened doors the doubters never even saw. You too must anchor your life in faith. Faith in your vision. Faith in your purpose. Faith in your ability to endure. Faith that the universe bends toward the will of the relentless, because there will be nights of doubt. There will be days of failure. There will be moments when everything around you screams, give up. It is faith alone that will keep you moving when logic says stop. It is faith alone that will transform the impossible into the inevitable. Average minds dream and surrender. Masterminds create because they refuse to stop believing. And so you must decide, will you let fear be your master, or will you let faith be your weapon? One builds cages, the other breaks chains. One kills vision, the other births destiny. One belongs to the average, the other belongs to the master. Life will test you. It will not hand you crowns without storms. It will not deliver empires without battles. The road to mastery is not paved and comforted, it is carved through resistance, through rejection, through relentless trials. This is why resilience is the armor of the mastermind. Without it, even the brightest vision shatters. With it, even the darkest night bends toward dawn. Average minds collapse at the first sign of difficulty. They set out with excitement, but the moment the winds change, they retreat. They mistake hardship as a signal to stop. But hardship is not the end, it is the forge. It is the fire that tempers steel. It is the test that separates the dreamers from the creators. History is filled with such tests. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. He faced bankruptcy multiple times. He was told his ideas were absurd, impossible, childish. An average mind would have quit, swallowed the verdict, and vanished into obscurity. But Disney's resilience made him immortal. He endured the setbacks, adapted to the failures, and built worlds from them. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When a reporter mocked him, asking how it felt to fail so often, Edison replied, I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That is resilience. That is adaptability. That is the unshakable refusal to let failure define the outcome. Understand this truth: failure is not your enemy. Failure is your teacher. It is the blueprint of success written in painful lessons. Average minds see failure as defeat. Mastered minds see failure as instruction. Every setback whispers, adjust. Every obstacle asks, are you serious? Every defeat demands, will you rise again? Resilience answers with action. Adaptability answers with creativity. Together, they turn defeat into progress. Consider Abraham Lincoln again. Before he became president, he lost his job. He failed in business. He suffered a nervous breakdown. He lost 8 separate elections. Most men would have disappeared into bitterness. But Lincoln adapted, each failure sharpening his will, each loss building endurance. His resilience carried him through, and when the nation itself faced collapse, he became the leader strong enough to preserve it. Do you see the pattern? The world does not honor those who never fall. It honors those who rise every time they do. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to let pain dictate your fate. Adaptability is not abandoning your vision. It is finding new paths when the old ones collapse. Picture a river cutting through stone. It does not stop when blocked. It adapts. It flows around the rock, over it, under it, until the obstacle itself is worn down. That is the nature of a mastermind: unstoppable, unyielding, flexible, eternal. But resilience is not only physical endurance, it is mental toughness. The average mind is fragile. A single insult breaks it. A single loss discourages it. A single obstacle convinces it to stop. The mastermind, however, has built an inner fortress. Criticism does not crush it sharpens. Loss does not paralyze it motivates it. Obstacles do not end the journey, they expand it. Adaptability, too, is mental power. The average mind clings to one way. When that way fails, it collapses. The mastermind seeks new ways, new methods, new strategies. The vision remains unshaken, but the path is flexible. Henry Ford once said, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently." That is adaptability in its purest form. Begin again, learn, adjust, continue. Do not be deceived. Resilience is not glamorous. It is not celebrated while it is happening. It is lonely, exhausting, painful, but it is the secret ingredient of every legacy. When you see the skyscraper, you forget the years of failed foundations. When you admire the champion, you forget the years of silent training. When you applaud the victory, you forget the thousands of losses that built it. But the mastermind never forgets. The mastermind endures, so when life knocks you down, and it will rise again. When doors slam shut, find new doors. When plans collapse, build new plans. When failure mocks you, learn from it, adapt, and step forward stronger, because average minds surrender. But masterminds understand that resilience is victory in disguise. Adaptability is wealth in waiting, and persistence in yielding. Stubborn persistence is the key that opens every locked door. The mind is like a muscle. If you do not train it, it weakens. If you do not feed it, it starves. If you do not challenge it, it shrinks until it can no longer carry the weight of great vision. This is why personal growth and learning are not luxuries for the mastermind, they are necessities. They are as essential as air and water. To stop learning is to stop creating. To stop growing is to start dying. Average minds graduate once and believe education is complete. They close the books, they silence their curiosity. They live on the stale bread of yesterday's knowledge. And so their minds stagnate. They repeat the same cycles, year after year, never advancing, never expanding. But the mastermind understands that learning never ends. Growth is eternal. Education is not a phase of life, is life itself. Every book becomes a mentor, every experience a classroom, every failure a professor, every person a teacher. Think of Benjamin Franklin. Born into poverty, he had only 2 years of formal schooling. By average standards, he should have remained obscure. But Franklin devoured knowledge. Relentlessly, he taught himself science, philosophy, politics, languages, and the art of persuasion. That hunger for growth transformed a poor boy into one of history's most influential minds. Or think of Andrew Carnegie. Though he had little formal education, he surrounded himself with people who expanded his thinking. He built what Napoleon Hill later called the Mastermind Alliance, a network of intelligent men who sharpened one another like iron upon iron. Carnegie understood that no single mind can reach its full power in isolation. Greatness multiplies when minds unite in pursuit of higher knowledge. This is the law. To grow, you must feed your mind daily with ideas greater than your current condition. Just as the body weakens without exercise, the mind weakens without challenge. Read, study, seek mentors. Observe the masters of every field. Do not waste your time scrolling endlessly through distractions. Use your time to sharpen your sword. One idea can change your destiny. One book can alter the entire course of your life. One conversation with the right person can open doors that would have stayed locked forever. Average minds resist learning. They defend their ignorance. They say, "I already know enough." But mastery is never arrogant. Mastery is humble enough to remain a student forever. The Japanese have a word, kaizen, continuous improvement. It is the philosophy of becoming just 1% better each day. It is not about giant leaps, but small, consistent refinements that compound into extraordinary results. A mastermind lives in KAIZEN. Picture a tree. If it is not growing, it is dying. The same is true of you. If you are not expanding your knowledge, your skills, your awareness, you are shrinking even if you do not notice it yet. Growth is not optional. It is survival. And growth requires discomfort. It requires stepping into rooms where you are not the smartest, tackling problems that intimidate you, practicing skills you are terrible at, asking questions that expose your ignorance. The average mind avoids this discomfort. The mastermind embraces it, knowing that every stretch is a sign of growth. Thomas Edison did not merely invent by trial, he invented by curiosity. He asked questions no one else asked. He studied relentlessly. He sought knowledge in every field he could touch. That hunger for learning made him a giant among men. Walt Disney studied not only art, but business, psychology, architecture, engineering. That's why his vision was so complete. He refused to stay in one lane. He grew in every direction until his imagination had the resources to become reality. So you must ask yourself daily, what am I feeding my mind? Am I filling it with noise, or am I sharpening it with wisdom? Am I learning from every mistake, or am I repeating them? Am I expanding my capacity, or am I shrinking into comfort? For personal growth is not a hobby. It is the foundation of mastery. And lifelong learning is not optional. It is the price of creation. Every page you read, every idea you absorb, every skill you practice, every failure you dissect, these are the bricks of the fortress you are building. The fortress of wisdom, the fortress of wealth, the fortress of destiny. Average minds believe they have arrived. Masterminds know they are always arriving. Average minds stop when they know something. Masterminds continue until they know everything they can. And it is in this humility, this hunger, this relentless pursuit of growth, that the true creators separate from the dreamers. Because average minds dream of a better life. Masterminds learn, grow, and build it. Purpose is the compass of the mastermind. Without it, even discipline, faith, resilience, and learning lose their power. Purpose is the fire in the furnace, the fuel that makes the machine of destiny unstoppable. The average mind drifts without it. They move from job to job, from dream to dream, from year to year, without anchoring themselves in something larger than comfort. They ask, what will give me money today, rather than, what am I here to build for eternity? They live as wanderers in their own lives, but the mastermind lives with a burning desire, a single, definite purpose so alive, so consuming, so unshakable that it shapes every choice, every habit, every moment. Napoleon Hill called it a definiteness of purpose, and he taught that without it, success is impossible. Look at Andrew Carnegie, who built not just wealth but an empire that transformed industry. He was not drifting, he was driven. Look at Thomas Edison, who dedicated his life not to random pursuits, but to bringing light into darkness. Look at Martin Luther King Jr., who stood with a purpose so burning that even imprisonment and threats could not silence him. Purpose gave them immortality. Your purpose is the reason you endure. It is the why behind every what. When the night grows dark, when failure mocks you, when doubt rises like a storm, it is purpose that whispers, keep moving. Without it, the struggle feels meaningless. With it, every struggle feels sacred, and purpose is not found in shallow desires. It is not found in the pursuit of comfort. It is found in sacrifice, in service, in vision so large that it scares you. Purpose must be big enough to pull you out of bed when comfort tells you to sleep. Big enough to silence fear when the crowd tells you to quit. Big enough to demand the fullness of your life. The average mind says, I want to be rich. The mastermind says, I want to create wealth that transforms lives, that builds something lasting, that outlives me. The average mind says, I want success. The mastermind says, I will dedicate myself so fully to this purpose that success cannot help but arrive. Napoleon Hill wrote, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But understand, belief without burning desire is weak. Conceiving without conviction is useless. The fuel that ignites belief, the heat that powers vision, is desire so consuming it refuses to be denied. This is why mediocrity is crowded and greatness is rare. Few are willing to ignite that kind of fire. Few are willing to pay the price of single-minded devotion. Few are willing to trade comfort for calling, but those who choose purpose over distraction, who burn their ships and commit themselves fully, they rise, they create, they change the world. So ask yourself, what is the fire that will not die in you? What is the dream that follows you, even when you try to ignore it? What is the cause that makes your blood burn and your spirit tremble? That is your purpose. That is your burning desire. Fan it, feed it, protect it, devote yourself to it, because in the end, nothing else matters. When you live without purpose, you live half alive. When you live with purpose, even death itself cannot silence you, because your creation lives on. And so we come to the truth that has echoed through every page of history. Average minds dream, masterminds create. But creation is not random. It is fueled by clarity of vision, disciplined action, unshakable faith, relentless resilience, lifelong growth, and above all a burning purpose that consumes the heart. This is the philosophy that carried Carnegie from poverty to empire. This is the philosophy that lifted Edison from failure to brilliance. This is the philosophy that guided Lincoln through war, Disney through ridicule, Ford through bankruptcy, and this is the philosophy that must now live in you, because you were not born to drift. You were not born to wish. You were not born to sit among the average, whispering dreams that never touch reality. You were born to create. You were born to command your mind, to master your destiny, to give shape to visions that others are too afraid to even imagine. The world does not need more dreamers. It needs creators. It needs builders. It needs men and women who refuse to surrender their vision, who refuse to bow to fear, who refuse to stop until their purpose stands like a monument before the eyes of history. So let the dreamers sleep. Let the doubters laugh. Let the critics sneer your eyes. You build, create. Because in the end, the line in the sand remains. On one side, the average, dreaming their idle dreams. On the other, the few, the daring, the masterminds who create. And history remembers only one.